Hey everybody, it's Kat, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Backstory Sessions. We have an exciting episode for you tonight, listeners, because not only do we have an actor, but we have a singer, all in one guest. And Courtney Gains is joining us. He's had an exciting film career. It's got an upcoming premiere of a new film, Barn 3. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And also, um, he's got some music out on the charts. I think the last time we spoke, he was doing music and loving it. So we're going to talk about like what that journey's been like and if he still is a music person above film, or if it's a tie, or, you know, has he started in visual art or some other, we're just going to catch up with him. So, Courtney, I want to welcome you and I want to congratulate you that you've got songs charting on the radio now and a new movie premiering and, just a lot of great things it sounds like happening.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's all indie, right? I mean, including the films. I mean, I think you reached out to me right when a movie called Thy Will Be Done came out, and that was an indie film, and it's done really well. It's gotten really great reviews, and it was, you just never know when you're making a movie how it's going to turn out. I was only on it for a couple of days, but it turned out really good. So that's been nice. And then The Barn 3, I just went to the premiere in Pittsburgh because it was shot in Pennsylvania. And yeah, that went really well. And if you're a horror fan and you like blood and guts, this movie is for you because there is a lot of blood and guts in this movie, more than I even imagined there would be. So everybody's been talking about the special effects. It's been winning special effects awards and this and that, and so I expected a lot, and it was double what I expected. So
Wow.
it's but if you're a horror fan, you're gonna love it because it's all old school effects. It's all it's like 1980s style effects. There's no CGI.
Well, what's it like for you? I know, do you have flashbacks of like Children of the Corn? I mean, this isn't the first time that you've been in a horror film, so
Uh,
what's it
no.
like being on one?
Uh, Mainly you're dealing with, like, yeah, you got to deal with effects considerations. I mean, that's, there's always blood, and which is, sticky corn syrup. So you just how much of that's getting on me is all you want to know. Because you got to go get it off you and shower, and it's a pain. But no, I've been because 2 years ago was the 40th anniversary of Children of the Corn, so that was like a big convention year. Tons of conventions, and also it put me back on the radar for horror. So I got signed on to do a bunch of movies as well. This both of those movies, That Will Be Done, which is more of a thriller, but The Barn all kind of came out of that period. So all these horror films they did 2 years ago are all starting to come out. That's sort of what's happening. Um, uh, I wasn't involved in a lot of the special effects stuff in the barn because the barn's got a really good following in the horror community. This is the third segment. This has been going on for 10 years. And horror fans, look, they love the good, bad, and the ugly. They want to see it all. And so even though these are low budget films, they have a really big following. And there's three characters that get released in the barn: this pumpkin guy, this scarecrow guy, and uh, this guy, the boogeyman, who's like got a pickaxe and all that kind of stuff. And that's those are the guys who are doing all the killing. Since I played the lead, which was a good guy, I played the lead guy in the movie 30 years later. I wasn't getting killed, so I didn't have to deal with a lot of it. But man, the whole second act is just people getting wiped out. It just goes. Like I said, it was more than I thought it was going to be, and I thought I was ready. So, but I think horror fans are gonna love it. And like I said, because it's practical effects, it's got that very 80s uh, vibe to it. Because the horror fans they don't like CGI and stuff, and now it's even getting more crazy with AI, right? So,
Right. Yeah. Have you, how many times have you died in films?
I don't know, but I've said this many times that if somebody would take the time to find them, I'm sure it could be a 5 minute reel of me dying. And then
Have
you could
you had,
cut the other one together of me being arrested, and then it'd be like 10 minutes. That's what I think.
well, have you had a favorite way to die in any of the films?
Ooh, that's actually a good question. Yeah, a movie called Killing Grounds, which somebody just brought up recently. I was really surprised they knew the movie. It was a movie that went straight to VHS back in the day in the 90s, but it was a great character. And so at the end of the movie, I'm choking out Priscilla Barnes, and this young cop rolls up, and he's telling me to, like, let her go, and I don't. I choke her out to the end, and I turn to him, and I'm like, you got the guts, and so he shoots me in the leg, and he shoots me in the arm, and I charge him. Then I take four squibs to the chest, and I have to go back several feet and then fall back. This was a low budget movie. They had one chance to do it, and when I went back, they had to then slide a mat. And this was like on cement, slide a mat underneath me to go back, and so it was kind of precarious. And the stunt guy was kind of worried. And when I went back, I stepped onto the mat a little bit, and I could see him out of the corner of my eye panicking because, like, it looked like it would probably hit my head on the cement. But I was smart enough to and aware enough to know that that was where I was. So I just bent my knees, just to give me a little bit of less, room going back. And that when that was done, the whole crew gave me an applause and everything. It was pretty awesome. If you ever see the movie, it's the end of the movie. It's a pretty damn good death scene because it goes on for a while.
Wow, well, I'll have to pull that up now and like look at that moment.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. Me and Anthony Michael Hall play the bad guys. It's pretty funny, pretty fun.
So, what's it like watching the movie after
Yeah,
that you filmed it?
that's a great question. I tell people now up front because directors always come to me like, "What did you think?" And I'm like, "Look, man, here's the deal. Like, I can't even tell you what I think of this movie for like till I see it 3 times." I said, "Here's the reason why. The first 2 times, all I'm doing is having flashbacks of everything that we went through while it's happening. It's like I kind of equate it like when they say people are dying and their life flashes before their eyes. That's what happens when I see the scene. I'm thinking to myself, okay, that was 2 in the morning. I was freezing my ass off. This person fell when we were running through the field, and I laughed about this. I'm thinking about all these things, and before you know it, the scene's over. You know what I'm saying? So it takes me a while to really, be able to process my performance and things. But that being said, with the barn, I was able to do pretty good. I'm pretty happy with my performance. I feel like I can see the choices I made. And you forget like a year, 2 years later, like you forget what you even did. So you go back and you're like, oh, okay, good. Like that, in the middle of the second act, you were having more fun. The character lightened up before everything got crazy. That was a smart choice. Good job. Things like that. So I'm pretty happy with the performance.
Would you say
It's always weird.
that you focus a lot on you when the first time you're watching it? Um,
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, you're looking at the film, but you're also looking at you in the film for sure. So, but you're also remembering other people's performances too, and like, oh, that looks a little different than I thought it was, or oh, that came off better than I thought, or oh, that didn't come off as good as I thought. I thought we did really well. You're remembering everything, not just you, but everything that all the crew that was there, camera setups, lighting problems, or lighting. You're remembering everything. You're remembering like, oh man, I was starving. I couldn't wait for like the break for food. Like whatever, whatever you're going through is what you remember. At least what I remember.
have you ever had a moment where you watched it back, any of the movies, and it's like, wow, I did not remember that that's the way that that happened at all.
Yeah, yeah, and also it's the way they cut it and things too. Or sometimes like they cut out entire chunks of what you did, or things like that. Like the director told me, in Barn Three, there was a scene we went through a lot of trouble to make driving in a truck. And it was kind of like the one time when I was talking to the young kids, like the uncle of the one of them, and like that. And like the director was literally on the side of the truck. They mounted this whole thing so he could be there. I mean, they went through a lot of pain. That whole scene got cut. Most of it got cut. What happens is, usually when they make a cut of a film the first time, it's at least 2 hours, and you can't have a 2 hour film. Certainly not a horror film. So you got to cut that thing down to like 125, 130. So you have to start, as any good editor will tell you, you have to start killing your babies. And That's the way it is. Like you have to be able to go like you can't say to yourself, "Ooh, I spent so much time making that scene. It has to be in my movie." You have to say, "No, that scene's slowing down the pace. It has to go." No matter how much work you put into it. But a lot of first-time directors and things won't do it. They don't have anybody there to stop them from themselves if they produced it as well or whatever. They're not going to, no one's going to tell them, that scene needs to go. But that's really, you literally, any good editor will tell you, you cut out anything and everything you absolutely don't have to have in the movie. You pare it down to the bare minimum. And yeah, I understand. But a lot of times, like I said, young directors and things won't do it.
Yeah, I imagine that that is hard, and I guess you just have to close your eyes and hit the button and, move along.
Kill your babies. That's what they'll tell you.
So, when can we see Barn 3? When will this be available for
That's a
everyone
good
else?
question. That's a good question. I don't actually have the answer. The distribution deal is not done yet. I'm thinking there's a chance it'll be this October. It's doing really good in festivals right now. It just got into two huge festivals. Uh, Fright Fest in the UK, which is like massive, and then the other one is Sitges, which is in Spain, which I went to for the 40th of Corn. It's a big, big sci-fi horror festival in Europe. It's the biggest. It just got in there, so that's huge. So it's getting in the right festivals, which is definitely going to help with the distribution. So I'm thinking it has a shot at getting out this October, which should be perfect because it
Yes,
takes place in it takes place on Halloween, so it's that kind
that
of movie.
that would be perfect. All right, Willie, I'm glad that you have joined us. Courtney is telling a fascinating story about what it's like being in a film and, watching yourself after you have died or not died. And
For change, not died. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I actually do die, but I come back. Spoiler alert.
yeah, so what does that count for? Like die and come back?
Yeah, it's rare. I'll tell you that. That's what it counts for. It counts for rare.
All right, Willie, what do you got?
Well, I'll be honest, I've never seen Children of the Corn.
Well,
Well, you got to
40
see something I've done.
years.
You got to see something I've done, Willie. What you got? How about Memphis Belle? How about Can't Buy Me Love?
Well, I guess my question is what, when you were in Children of the Corn, what did you base, what was your role model for that character?
I don't really think in those terms too much. What I think of is just from what I read, I get an idea in my mind what I'm heading for. What I would like to achieve. And it sounds silly, but the biggest thing I want as I was preparing the character internally, I'm a method actor. So it's all internal. That then inside out they call it. That I would get myself into a state of mind that I thought was close to what this character, was, and I would go run in the mirror and see if I had the look in my eyes that I thought I should have. And it didn't happen the first four, five, six times. So I kept working the character, and then finally I walked in and I saw it, and I was like, okay, there it is. Like I'm embodying this character now. If you ever look at the movie, you'll see I'm pretty intense.
To say the
What
least.
what was it like working with Linda Hamilton?
Well, she wasn't quote unquote Linda Hamilton then, but she is one of the sweetest ladies you'll ever meet. Then and now, she's just a really, really nice person. So she was great to work with.
Yeah, I loved her in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was. Matter of fact, the other guy, Isaac, who played the other bad guy, the little guy, John Franklin, he had a role playing the little beast on Beauty and the Beast, so he got to work with her again.
Oh,
Well, learn something new every day, Willie.
There
There's
you
some
go.
yes.
um well, in music, let's switch over and
Yeah,
talk about
sure.
music, which is
Right.
a love of yours as well. Um,
Absolutely.
you've got songs charting right now. Tell us about the progress of the band and you and songwriting and
So
playing.
we, so we were trying to remember when the last time I was on here. Do you remember what I was talking about? Was I talking about putting out my EP probably at the time? What was I talking
Yes, I
about?
think
Okay.
I do think that's what you were doing at that time.
Right. So I put out an EP in 2022 called Safe Haven. And and then just since then, I've been recording and I've been playing in my band a lot and been working on getting this record together that I'm going to put out in August called Liberation Day. We're done with the mixing now. We're just doing the mastering, so we're very close to getting it all done. And yeah, it's just been steady progress, right? Like every day you got something to do. Every day move the stone a little more, right? Just keep pushing the stone up the hill. That's when the people talk about the grind, right? So, and this learning the music business, it's not an easy business to learn. You can find out more information about the acting business online than you can about the music business online. And I think the reason is that there's a real gray area in the music business that's not illegal but shady, but not illegal. Whereas there's a little bit of that in the movie business, but not as much. And so everything's kind of like kept on the down low how it all works.
Mhm.
It's interesting. But so I learned to figure it out, and I finally got recordings that I felt were good enough to get on the radio. So I decided to pursue that. And so I have one song right now called "Been Forgotten." That's the most pop rock song I'll probably ever on the record for sure. And so we actually went after top 40, which is it's a big market to go after because that pretty much includes everybody. And
Sure.
we're at 61 right now. So
Great.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Like above people, like I see like Shabuzi's like underneath us. I'm like, my God, I have a song ahead of Shabuzi. How's that possible? That guy had a number one hit for like 20 weeks. And then I have a second song called "Wander and Dream." That's a banger. It's a rock tune, rock anthem, and that's on what's called the secondary rock market. And that's at it should be at number 50 next week. That's where it's at. So top 50 is like the goal. To get to top 50 is a big deal. So excited. I had two songs chart at the same time. On April 15th, both my songs broke into the charts. So that was the tax day of all days that my songs broke into the charts. So it's been a pretty exciting thing, and it's been a dream to have. I know some people say radio's dead, but to me, radio is still radio, and radio still matters. And to have a song playing on the radio to me is a big deal. Also, though, just to jump back in the movie The Barn, I have a song in that too, a metal rock song called "Fear the Boogie," and that was really cool to see that in the credits at the end. The last song they play on the whole movie is rolling the credits is my song. So that's pretty cool to see my name up there as a musician and to hear my song playing as the credits roll was pretty awesome. So
It,
those are
is
three songs.
is
Those are
that
three
the
songs off the
first
album that are out as of now. So a couple music videos and like that.
is that the first time that you've had a song in a movie?
No, but it is the first time I think I've had it. No, actually, it's not the first time I've even had it. I had a song in a movie called Cattle Call that was in the credits that I actually wrote that song for the friend of mine who was directing it. But this is the first time I've had a song that I starred in the movie and also had it rolling in the credits at the end of the movie. So that was pretty special.
Wow. And like you only have to move 10 more points and you could have been on American Top 40, which obviously whether radio is dead or not, we'll always remember Casey Kasem and
Right, right.
America's Top 40. So,
Yeah, it's all complicated. I don't know if I would if I get in the top 40 if they would talk about it because there's Billboard and then there's media base and I mean there's all these categories. It's really the music business is very complicated. And to understand how it works is very complicated. So I don't know if it actually would count on Billboard top 40. I'm not 100% sure, but that would be pretty awesome. We're not done yet. It's going up. It'll definitely be going up the chart more next week, no doubt about it. So it's still going. It hasn't flatlined yet. So we'll see how far we can take it.
well, that's amazing. I mean, such progress that you've made, and it sounds like you're really loving this. How did you decide what songs were going on the album?
So it was so what happened was, in a way, it was good. I didn't have time to think about it too much. I'd had a manager for a minute in New York, and he also put out music, and so he wanted a record. So I just really started cranking out a record and started thinking. So I took some. So I worked with this guy named Wal PJ, he was in my band for about a year here. He's a really talented musician out of South America. So we've done some recording already, and we worked really well together. So we started cranking out this record, and then that deal didn't work out. Part of it was frustration of not getting the song "Been Forgotten" out fast enough. I wasn't happy with the mixes they were doing. I felt they were trying to make it just too pop, and so we had to pull the plug at the end of last year, and that was disappointing. But it was also I was already that much more committed to doing it, so I'm like, I'm gonna find a way, and I'm gonna get it out there myself, and so I did. Um, but so the record itself is really has a lot of different things in it. It has that song "Fear the Boogie" is by far the most metal song because I wrote it for that film. And "Been Forgotten" is a song I had for a long time that I always knew was a little more pop or a little more R&B. But the rest is there's rock and then there's also Americana. And so it's going to be interesting to see how people react to the whole record because it has a little bit of everything in it. But that's really just the way I write. I don't, just like as an actor, I don't just do one thing, you know? And so I just do what comes to me. I don't try to, I'm not, label hasn't paid me, given me an advance to make a specific type of record. You know what I mean? So I can just do whatever I want. So I'm going to write what I want to write and say what I want to say.
So you don't really have a theme when you start out of like, oh, this is going to be about America's 250th, birthday or whatever.
No, I think it was more reflect like Wandering Dream kind of reflect. And again, I don't think too much when I write. I try to get out of my way. You know what I mean? Let the subconscious do its thing. Wandering Dream, it was in a lot of ways flashing back to my 40 years in the business, just and how many, when I left LA, I was burned by a lot of so-called friends, and that's what it talks about, So that's kind of where the record starts, and it ends with this song called Liberation Day that I think, really when Trump was talking Liberation Day with the taxes thing, I think that's where that title came in, but it ended up being a much more existential uh, conversation about, I think we're in, whether it's the internet or everything else, I think we're being gaslit so much right now. Where's the truth? You know, where the sky is blue, somebody's telling the sky isn't blue now. You know what I mean? It's like it's like and it's only going to get worse with all this AI information because all these deep fakes and everything else. So it was kind of like about that. And so I said, kind of starts with the reflection of my 40 years and it kind of ends with that, which is, what's our reality now?
And that gets to be the title of the album.
I think so because it also represents me, Liberation Day, in terms of me breaking out as a musician. It's stating like I'm here, I'm doing this for real at this point.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's my freedom. This is my freedom. The thing is, as an actor, what do like? I have musicians that play with me that they get paid, right? They get paid to play. We have gigs and they get paid. And it's my job to find the gigs. It's my job to collect the money. I'm the leader of the band. And these guys, like my drummer, he's really good. If you're a good drummer, you play in like three bands in town. He plays in like three or four bands because like a good drummer is hard to find. That's who I am as an actor. I'm like the guy you hire, you bring in, who's a loaded gun, who does his job really well, and makes the film look good, and makes the director look good, and that's cool. Like that's been my career. But as a musician, these are my movies. These are my thoughts. These are my ideas. It's a little different. It's a little deeper. It's a little more personal in that regard. So this is me putting out my stuff. So that's been very satisfying.
So what has been the reaction to from audiences? Have they picked a favorite or over
I
time?
the most avid fan base obviously is the horror fan base, right? I mean, those are the ones that are most vocal. So they freaking love Fear the Boogie. They're like all about Fear the Boogie. So the other two I've just started playing live. I'm gonna have to get Fear the Boogie together as well because I have some really cool gigs coming up toward the end of the year. One of them is in Ohio. Smoking Coals. It's a big biker rally, and I'm opening for Lita Ford. I can't believe it.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So, so I got to give them the banger there. They're gonna definitely want Fear the Boogie for that show. So, and then after that, I got you've heard of booze cruises? I got a boo cruise going out of Tampa in October that I'm the host, and then there's a bunch of bands playing, and my band's playing too. So again, that obviously caters to the horror fan base. So we're gonna have to have Fear the Boogie working good by then. So because they're gonna eat that song up. So
Well, it just sounds like great fun to have a song like that, though, and your fan base loving it and just the energy.
well, it's kind of got a fun story behind it. When I asked the director, I said, "Hey, can I submit some music? I do that." And he's like, "Yeah, cool." I said, "All right, let me see if I can come up with something." So when I was in Sitges for the film festival, when we were screening the film, the guy that was hosting it came out. He goes, "Man, can I talk to you for a minute? Like, I got to tell you something." He goes, "You don't understand. When I was a kid, Children of the Corn was the movie." Like all the guys would pass around a tape one at a time to watch this movie. And he goes, "You were known," and so it's Stiges is like right next to Barcelona, about 15 minutes away. He goes, "You were known as the boogeyman of Barcelona when I was a
Ah.
kid." And I was just like, "What a great title, right?" So it was in my head. And then in this movie, The Barn, the director plays one of the lead bad guy, the mine. He's like I said, he's a miner, but they call him the boogeyman. So it just Fear the Boogie just came to me, you know. So
Well,
that's how
that's
the
really
subconscious
cool.
works. Yeah, that's how the subconscious works. You just file information and then it kind of comes through, you know?
So, how long did it take you to write it once you started?
Not that long. So Wall he had just gotten a what they call a drop down D electric guitar, which is a 7 string electric guitar, which has the drop down D, which makes it sound really crunchy for like metal songs. So he sent me a bunch of ideas. He had already sent me a while ago, and I went through those, and I really liked the riff in that particular one, and I just started writing. A lot of times, it doesn't take me that long to write a vocal. It just really doesn't. So, like I said, half the record are songs that he wrote, and I wrote the vocals on it, and half the songs I wrote both the vocals and the music.
All right,
I,
Willie, what do you think of that backstory? I mean, that's a really clever, interesting way that someone would come up with a song.
Yes, it is. But which do you prefer, acting or music?
Yeah, I've been getting asked that recently, and it's kind of a hard question. It's kind of a hard question. I say right now, music's probably being more soul satisfying because it's something I've been doing music. Even when I was in LA, I had bands and things, but I've really put the effort in the last few years to focus on really getting it out there, and so it's been a really fun journey for me. Acting has been my profession since I was 18 years old, and I'm no spring chicken at this point. So I'd have to say right now I'm leaning toward music, but in no way would I ever want to take away from. I mean, I started acting because I loved it, just like everybody else. Just the business sometimes you beat you down a little bit. I'm proud that I was in LA for 35 years. That's really people don't understand. That's quite an accomplishment to have hung in there in
Yeah.
LA for that long. Most people I knew, even people who had careers when they were teenagers or whatever, they kind of gave it up. You know what I mean? Out over time, it's just a tough grind. You're having to constantly audition, improve yourself, and lots of rejection and all that kind of thing. People don't really think about that part of it. They just think about the things you're in. But for me, for everything I'm in, there's 20 things I'm not in. Maybe 100. So I'm proud of myself. I think the real story is not, people like to talk about Children of the Corn, and I get that. But the real story is that, I hung in LA for 35 years and I have over 100 credits in my career. And when I moved to Savannah, that opened up the whole Southeast market and the New York market, and that's also been really good for me. I've gotten some really good jobs out here, maybe better jobs than I would have gotten in LA. So you just never know what the right move is at the right time.
Did you have any fears about moving and what it might do for your career?
No, I could see. Well, I didn't feel like I had anything to lose. So I sort of had two things that I was looking at that time. I feel that that's part of, if you're going to be in a business this long, you got to see where the market is. I've talked to people about this, other actors about this before. It's like you got to know where you are, what you can do, and what the market is offering for what you can do. And I'll give just a short little example of that. In 2020, I could see the market of the world, and I started growing out a big beard, and I said, "Grow the big beard, the conspiracy theorist will come," you know. And it did. And a movie called Wrath of Becky, which if you've not seen, is a really good movie. It's probably the best thing I've done in a few years. That was the second one, and they're just doing the third one now. But I knew if I grew the beard with my look, my face, and just the world as was, that role was going to happen. I didn't know what I was going to get, what film or what television show, but I knew it was going to happen, and it did. So that's just understanding the market. So in 2017, my auditions dropped about a third, and I could see the writing on the wall that pasty white 50-year-old white boys was out. And I had a pension coming soon that I could take if I wanted to, and I was like, it's time to go. And so I did, and everybody I knew that was my age, my look, white, and that stayed in LA, nothing. So I made the move at the right time, and like I said, it opened up the whole Southeast market and the New York market. I got some really good jobs out of New York. I uh, I got cast in a rock star game. They wouldn't tell me what it was. I was having a blast doing it. It was a great character. And at the end, somebody said, I think this is Grand Theft Auto Online. And it was like two-part Grand Theft Auto Online. I couldn't believe it. I was one of the, it's the biggest franchise there is in video games. So,
Wow.
so to be part of that was just like, and it wouldn't happen if I was in LA. They cast either out of Atlanta or New York. That's what they did. Um, so you just have to try. And I also could see that there was that's what they call self tapes was coming, where you don't have to go in and audition anymore because it was already kind of starting to happen in LA where some young person was videotaping you and the casting director wasn't even in the office. And so that was really starting to piss me off because like, why do I got to drive over the 405 in traffic and you can't even be here to see what I'm doing? So I said, if I leave, then I can just do self tapes. I'll have the perfect excuse to do it. And then the pandemic hit, and then everything turned self tape. So I essentially saw the future coming. And so it was without a doubt the right move, and without a doubt, the best move. And what I didn't know was that Savannah has such a rich music scene. I did not realize. I just thought it was a really beautiful town. Um, that's really what's opened the door to the music is that there's such a rich music scene here, and there's so many you can get hired to play music. So like it opened the door to being able to get paid to play and meet lots of really talented musicians out here. So it's been that was the big surprise. I didn't see that coming, but it's been perfect. It's exactly what I needed at this time of my life. So
So, what are the positives from the pandemic in the music industry and film? Like you mentioned, the self-tape. So, I imagine that
that's
saves
that's about
time.
that's about all I can think of, to be honest. I mean, I think the industry is in a. I think shortly after that, I don't know if you remember that. We had a big actor strike, and
Yes.
this wasn't the first acting strike I've been through. And kind of what I learned, and this has proved it on steroids, was that if we fight the producers for a good deal too long, we end up lose. They give us the deal, but we lose. Like we win the battle, but we lose the war. And that's exactly what happened. And so how we lost the war was in that time, they started going like, where else can we film? Oh, like Korean films are kind of hot right now. Let's go invest in that. And what's happened is Atlanta and LA have not rebounded since the strike. They're at about half capacity of what they were as far as projects getting done. So many people in LA that were making a really good living are hurting now. And so many places like, people that sell the expendables, the tape, the blah, 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 renting the equipment. A lot of those places are going under because there's just not enough work happening right now in LA. So again, I got out at the right time. There's no doubt about it. They're shooting 50% of the movies now overseas, which means they're also hiring a lot of actors, out of the UK or wherever they're doing it, Australia, wherever. um, the American film business is for act, is in trouble. I mean, it's really tough times. So I'm just very fortunate that I'm not having to suffer through that because, like I said, I have a pension. I can do pretty much what I want. I live within my means, so I can do what I want to do.
And now you have your music as well. So,
Well,
you
that's how I'm empowered to do it. That I don't have to. It's an expensive hobby, as it were, but I can do it because I don't have to worry about. I just have to take a job all the time.
would you do music if if you had no interest in performing it? Would you still that be a part of your life
Well,
daily?
it has been. I mean, I've been writing since I was 15 years old. Music is uh, the real buzz for me, I've worked really the last few years living here, becoming a performer, getting up there and performing regularly. But the real jazz for me is writing songs. It always has been. The creative moment of writing a song is euphoric, when it's really flowing. Something happens that you would not expect to happen. Something just comes through you, some topic, some whatever, and you just roll with it and you have to just get it out. And I love writing. That's why I was out. I did a lot of co-writing on this record. Well, I've been co-writing, ever since I started writing. My first band was an acoustic band called The Gathering, with one of the students in my class that I was in acting class with. Her name's Shayna O'Neill. She's a great singer. Her mom used to sing in Atlantic City, and we could just write so easily. And we in LA. We were out there playing nothing but originals from the time I was like 17. So. I love writing and I love co-writing because co-writing brings you somebody else's vibe and ideas into the game that will have you write something that you may not have written otherwise. The same thing happened with my band, last band I had in LA before I started my own project here called Ripple Street. I had a bass player, a three-piece band. Writing with a bass player was very different than writing on an acoustic guitar. Acoustic guitar, you're like putting a zillion words in like Bob Dylan, but when you're writing with somebody like bass riffs, you got to really cut your lyrics in half to work and
Yeah.
fit. So, but that's an interesting challenge. It's like, okay, this is now working with this medium. So I like all of that. So it's co-writing's fun for me. I like writing on my own, but I also like co-writing.
Well, you seem to be very flexible and open to adapting to different styles or genres.
I think in general in the creative process you need to try to stay open because it's what my experience has been when it's been producing films or being in them or playing in a band or whatever is when somebody starts to their ego starts to squash things from flowing because it's not their idea. That's a problem. It doesn't matter whose idea it is. It matters who's got whichever idea, whoever it came from, what's the best idea, and go with that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter who. It just matters that the best idea got found. And but I've seen it happen a lot. People want to control things. People want to control you. They wanna like they got to put their thumb on it, and that's the beginning of the end. That's always the beginning of the end. You gotta let it flow. It's like you know, the best producing advice I read in a producing book is it said there's three movies: the one written, the one made, and the one edited. And that's really true. Like you might have a really good script, but say like it's very complicated, and you end up getting a budget where you don't have as much time as to shoot it the way you'd like, so you don't actually quite get the movie that was written. And then you got to go in there and cut it together. And so the movie that was on paper is not the movie at the end. It's the same thing with music. If I start with a song I wrote on an acoustic guitar, that's like the script. Then I bring in some musicians or bring in a producer or whatever. We start recording. It's going to take some directions. It's going to go some places. And by the end, when you're done mixing, because there's so many interpretations of how you can mix a song, more drums, more bass, more vocals, whatever. And then eventually does the mastering, which is even another process. It's never what you started with. So you have to try to stay open to working through the process and letting it morph into what it becomes versus whatever you had in your head is that it should be. At least that's my experience.
Have you ever written anything that you were dead set that it was going to stay that way?
No, because I'm not. Um, for me to do that, then I would have to be the musician playing all the instruments. I would have to be the guy who mixed it, the guy who produced it, the guy who mixed it. I'd have to be able to control all those knobs. And so I'm not that guy. I'm not a tech guy at all. I don't care about hardly any of that stuff. I just care about I come in and bring you an idea, try to like kind of like when I produce a movie, it's kind of like the idea is you have this project and then try to get the best people you can pull together to make the project. That's really your job is to get the best people around you to make the project. The better people you have around, chances are the better the project's going to be. So again, if I was a cinematographer and I could shoot it myself, then I wouldn't need the cinematographer. You have some people you need to help you make it happen that have technical expertise that you have to lean on. I mean, sometimes that's tough because sometimes they have a way they want to do something and you can't speak their jargon, to get what you want. But it's all part of the process.
All right, Willie, what's your final question here? Our time is winding down.
Okay. Well, knowing what all you know now, would you would you have chosen acting or music first?
Mm. I would still have to say I would have chose acting first. I just knew that that's what I was going to do. I've known it since I was little that I had chosen, that wasn't going to be my profession. So I would have to say acting. But I think I thought you were going to ask, would you have done it at all? And maybe not. It's like I realize now how fortunate I am and how tough the businesses. I was, young and naive and just hungry and just went for it. But my girlfriend, she works with my manager. She's a manager as well. And now I see the entire process on a daily basis of submitting for auditions and how many people get auditions, then how many people don't book the jobs. I'm kind of glad I didn't know all that stuff. It's really disheartening. So I think naivete and commitment were the key in the beginning.
Is that still true? I mean, do you think for someone starting out today, um, just like maybe ignorance is bliss and be driven and
Yeah, I
persistent?
think you can't. I think you can't have a plan B. I think you can't have a plan B if you're even going to have a shot at it. The competition's just too high.
Well, I've often asked that question because, many people that are successful say no plan B if you
Yep.
want to make it. So,
Yep.
it's interesting you say that.
Yep.
Well, so for the album, um, just I guess tell us where we can follow you and find out
Yeah.
all the latest.
Yeah. So I have an Instagram and a Facebook, Courtney Gains group that you can follow the band. I also have an Instagram and Facebook for just Courtney Gains, Courtney Gains official, where you can follow my acting stuff. Sometimes they bleed back and forth a little bit, but if you want to know what's going on with the band, you want to go to Courtney or the music, you want to go to Courtney Gains group for sure. And like I said, should be putting it out in August. That's the plan. So just keep stay tuned, and you'll certainly know what's going on.
Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of upcoming projects and a lot of interesting plans for the end of the year.
Yep.
So, I mean, how far ahead are you, like all the time? Are you thinking
I
like,
would say this is the most far ahead I've been in a while. I mean, to know that I already have music gigs all the way into October is really good. I mean, actually, I have a couple other projects. I mean, I know I have stuff all the way to the end of the year as far as music goes, or not just engagements. So it's pretty cool to have that much stuff, and I think it's only going to get better for next year with this record and things charting. I think that's just going to help uh, booking buyers and booking agents be more willing to work with me and get me out there. And that's the idea. By charting, they have to take you seriously.
yeah, wow. Well, I hope that you will come back, and next year we'll be talking about like triple the things that we've got to talk about this time.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you again. And
Thank you.
we
All right.
will be watching particular scenes for Barn 3. I probably can't sit through the whole thing, but because it sounds like it's pretty gory.
It's glory.
And
But
I will make it a point to watch Children of the Corn before I leave
oh wow.
All
Now
here.
right.
you have really accomplished something to get Willie to say that. So
Okay.
that
I
is
don't watch very many scary movies now.
You'll
I
never
never
be the
have, even
same.
growing
You'll never
up.
be the same.
never be the same once
Uh,
Malachi. That's a good note to end on.
All right, y'all take care.
you too. Thank you.
Bye.